So hey there guys, Erin here again, and today is another day, and today I'm doing another keto guide for you guys. In my last video, I asked you which topic you would like me to go over next, and you picked how much fat do I need on a ketogenic diet. And so I will again put another poll at the end of this video, and I really appreciate you guys, interacting and voting on that, because that lets me know which type of topic or what kind of content you guys would like me to go over. So for me, I really don't stress about how much fat I can have on a ketogenic diet. I'm gonna go over my tips or kind of my method of doing things, so that way fat and how much fat I can have becomes kind of a non-issue, it becomes a non-problem. So when I think about a ketogenic diet, let's define the term. It's a low carb, high fat diet. So I'm eating lower amounts of carbs and higher amounts of fat. But the thing is that we really need to remember is that the calorie amounts per gram for carbs and protein is lower than the calories for fat. So you can use up and eat more fat more quickly than you can with your calories from a gram of those sources. So the amount of food is actually a little bit larger than you think it is because of that lower caloric amount per gram. So you need more grams in order to make up the volume for it. That being said, the typical macro breakdown for keto is 5% carbs, 20% protein, and then the rest of your calories, 75% from fat. So when I think about that 5%, I don't base my plates based on that pie chart. When I go after that 5%, I personally go after vegetables mainly. Majority of my carbs come from vegetables, and they come from higher fiber vegetables because typically they are higher in micronutrients and just a lot more minerals and vitamins that are going to help me to be sustained and help all the different functions in my body. And that's just kind of what I go after. Also, because they're higher in fiber, I can eat more of them, so I can fill my plate up with more of them. So I'm kind of busting the myth of that pie chart, that 5%. My plate definitely never looks like 5% of it is vegetables. My plate is more than half full of very fibrous, nutrient-dense, eating up the rainbows vegetables. And I go after those first. When I go after those foods, those are the first ones I eat because I want to make sure that I'm getting that fiber and I'm getting all those nutrients first. So that way, if I do get full while eating my meal, I for sure got all of that in there. After I eat those, I go after my protein. And typically for most people, I would say if you're watching other keto YouTubers, they're probably somewhere between 15 and 30% of their daily calories coming from protein, depending on what their personal goal is. Some people are trying to lose weight like me, and some people are trying to build muscle, and so they maybe feel like they need to eat a little bit more higher protein on keto. And that's fine. I know that there is some information out there saying that protein can spike your insulin levels. For me, I've personally tested it out and it doesn't have an effect on me. So I really encourage you guys to, when you hear things like that, just to try it out on yourself, because your body will act differently than somebody else's. And so you can't take kind of the blanket, oh, if you do that, it's going to spike your insulin. You're a unique individual. Unique things will happen to you. Be a little bit more interactive, listen to your body, interact with it. If you feel like your insulin got spiked from eating a lot of protein, then maybe go down. But you can tell when it happens, you get that kind of feeling, that rush, or you can test it through blood strips, but you'll have some way of telling that it happened for you. And so I encourage you to do that versus just taking blanketed advice. Like I was saying, after I've eaten my carbs, I attack my protein. My protein for me is typically 15 to 20% of my daily caloric needs. And protein is very important because there's so many functions in your body that require that protein, and don't skip out on it. So the best thing to do is try to buy your meats as much as possible from clean sources. I know that financially not everybody can, but there are kind of tips and tricks that I have. I buy a cow directly from a farmer. If there's programs in your area that allow you to do that, I strongly encourage you to do that, because then you can actually know what the animal how it was raised and, you know, what the process was that that farmer had for getting that meat to your table. It makes it a little bit more personal. That's my little rant, but try and buy your protein from as clean of source as possible that you can fit within your budget. You can get your protein from, you know, dairy sources and from nut sources as well. It doesn't all have to be from meat, so just be kind of, you know, mindful of, you know, what the protein looks like on your plate and make sure that you're getting it in there. Last thing that I will say is I don't personally add like a very separated fat source to my meals. A lot of my fat is coming from the way I'm preparing my meals. So I am cooking those vegetables, those high fiber vegetables, in good clean oil sources, coconut oil, olive oil, grass-fed butter, whatever it is. I'm adding it in and I'm thickening the calories within that vegetable up by putting my fat in there. So that is what's kind of making me full while I'm eating those vegetables. I personally don't do a lot of things like fat bombs and stuff like that. I'm finding that I'm able to add enough oil, add enough fat to those vegetables, to that meat, in order to make it so that I am full before I even really finish my meat. Because I do it that way, I always, like I said, I try to attack my carbs first, but I always also look at my plate and determine what I can't save for later, because one thing that I have a big problem with is finishing my plate on keto. I'm finding that because I'm getting satiated so quickly, full so quickly, that I often don't finish all my meals. And so that is kind of where I'm creating the deficit from. So I think when people are asking how much fat I can have on keto, they're also kind of asking, do I have to count my calories on keto? And I think you do. For me, I would have gained weight if I didn't count my calories on keto. I would have gotten, you know, to the point where I was just eating mindlessly. Especially when you have things like fat bombs, your calories can get kind of out of control. I know that there's people that talk about, you know, there's people that are, you know, published authors and stuff that talk about how you can eat an abundance of calories and that you don't really need to think about calories. But I think where people get frustrated on keto is they go into it with that mindset and they just eat tons and tons of calories and they're like, why am I not losing weight? And the reason is because you have to create a deficit. I have created a deficit through my activity, as well as by eating slightly less calories than my body needs per day. So in truth, when we're really thinking about that 75% number, that is where I take my deficit from. I find it the best way to go about being healthy on this diet is to make sure I'm getting all those carbs. You only get a limited amount. I mean, technically in the 5%, they can take up a lot of volume on your plate because, you know, a salad is just a bunch of leaves essentially, so it can take up a lot of space. And that's honestly what I go after. I go after those carbs, and then I make sure I'm getting my protein, and then from there I pump up the calories to make it so that those two items are more filling by adding my fats in. If I looked at my diet, I would say I'm hitting about 65% of my calories, 60% of my calories coming from fats, and so the deficit is coming from that fat zone. So I don't feel the need to, you know, hit the macros perfectly to get all of them. I'm creating my deficit from that space. I'm really just trying to make sure that I'm eating foods that are going to support my body, that are going to give me all the nutrients I need, and that are going to keep me running and healthy and keep me feeling full, so that way I don't get tempted to cheat on keto or, you know, get tempted by treats and stuff like that. So how much fat do you really need on keto is kind of subjective in some ways. If you're not trying to lose weight and you're just using a ketogenic diet, then you need the full 75% because you need those calories in order to maintain your weight. Yeah, that's kind of my advice for fat. Fat is kind of actually the last thing I think about when trying to fuel and get my body going. I use it more as a calorie pick-me-up, so I'm making sure that I'm getting enough calories to support myself. After that, I don't really obsess about it, and I recommend that you don't obsess about it either. Just eat until you're full. Once you're full, stop eating, move on to whatever else you want to do in your day. And, you know, if you get hungry again, then, you know, pick up, eat another meal, whatever you want to do. But then again, stop once you're full, listen to your body. If your body's telling you, I don't want to eat anymore, you don't have to hit your macros perfectly. You don't have to stress out about that. That's not what makes you successful on keto. What makes you successful on keto is making sure that you're in ketosis, that your body is burning the fat stores within your body if you're trying to lose weight, and that you're eating clean, good fats. You're eating as clean of meals as possible. I mean, generically, if we're gonna be honest, basically all diets are ones where you should try to eat as, you know, whole, clean foods as possible. That's where you're gonna get your nutrients from. That's what's gonna sustain you. That's what's gonna make you feel healthy. And so keto is really no different than that. So don't get stressed out about your fats. Just, you know, focus on making sure you're eating your other two, and then go after that fat amount and stop once you're full. That's the way to be successful. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. You found it informative. If you did, go ahead and give it a thumbs up, because that lets me know again that I'm doing you guys right and making videos that you guys actually enjoy. So until next time, I hope everything is going great in your world, and I will see you guys later. Bye.